I wasn't sure if I would ever get married or have kids.
Let me tell you something. This wasn't just a last-minute outburst or a drunken slip of the tongue. No, this was Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yes, Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show, laying bare the deepest wounds of his heart, a confession carved from decades of heartbreak and silence. Picture it. Costa Rica. The day before death wrapped its cold hands around him. Malcolm sat alone, the soft amber light washing over his tired face, pen in hand, paper before him. And he wrote down 5 names. Not enemies, not rivals, lovers. Women who had cut him so deep, he whispered, "I will never forgive." 5 names, 5 stories, 5 ghosts that haunted him till his very last breath. Now the world is left asking, who were they? And why did he cling to this pain until the end? To understand it, you have to go back, way back. Because Malcolm wasn't just some Hollywood pretty boy. Sure, he was America's sweetheart in the 80s, making families laugh every Thursday night as Theo. But once those studio lights dimmed, he was just a man with a fragile heart, desperate for love, but cursed with loss. He once admitted in an interview, "I'm not afraid to fail in my career. I'm afraid of being alone in a dark room." Haunting, right? That fear followed him through every relationship. He loved hard, but when it ended, he stayed silent. No big explanations, no tell-all interviews, just cryptic lines, moody blues songs, and diary entries nobody ever read. But in the end, his silence broke. He left that paper, 5 names, 5 women, and behind each name, a wound that never healed. If love were a fairy tale, Michelle Thomas would have been his happily ever after. But real life? Oh, it's crueler than that. It was 1988. The Cosby Show was at its peak, pulling in over 30 million viewers every week. That's when Michelle walked onto the set as Justine Phillips, Theo's girlfriend. On screen, she was his sweetheart. Off screen, she quickly became his real sweetheart. At first, it was just teenage glances, playful flirting between takes, but soon those scripted kisses turned real. And just like that, America's favorite on-screen couple became a real-life golden pair. Fans swooned, magazines buzzed, they were young, beautiful, and in love. For 6 years, Michelle was Malcolm's rock. Fame was heavy and he was young, barely 18 when it all started. But through the chaos of Hollywood, Michelle stood by him. She was his safe place. Even after they broke up in 1994, it wasn't messy. No scandals, no betrayal, just 2 young people drifting apart. But the bond, it never broke. Then tragedy struck. In 1997, Michelle was diagnosed with a rare form of stomach cancer. She was just 29. The vibrant, radiant woman who once lit up every room was fading. By December 1998, she was in a New York hospital, her body failing. And Malcolm? He dropped everything. He flew across the country and planted himself right by her side. Fame, work, everything else, nothing mattered. He sat by her hospital bed, holding her hand as she grew weaker every day. In her final moments, Michelle whispered something strange. "Elephant juice." Malcolm looked confused, then suddenly remembered. It was their private code. When mouthed silently, it looked like, "I love you." Her last words to him weren't goodbye. They were, "I love you." And Malcolm, through tears, whispered it back. On December 23, 1998, Michelle Thomas took her last breath. And Malcolm, he was there, clutching her hand, shattered in ways the world could never see. Years later, he would still post about her. In 2015, he shared her photo with the caption, "An angel walking the earth, lighting up every place she went. Rest well, my love. You are missed." Even after marrying and having a child, that space in his heart was still hers. Michelle was his first love, his purest love, and her death was the wound he would never forgive fate for. Time healed nothing. That ghost followed him forever. If Michelle Thomas was the firecracker, the dazzling, young, pure first love, then Karen Molina White was the slow-burning candle, steady, warm, enduring. For nearly a decade, she was Malcolm's anchor, but even anchors can loosen with time. They met in the early 1990s, when both were already household names. Karen was Charmaine Brown on The Cosby Show, and later A Different World. Malcolm, still glowing from his Theo Huxtable fame, was trying to find his next step in life. Friendship grew into love. And unlike his whirlwind romance with Michelle, this one had balance. Karen was just a year older, but she carried herself with a kind of grounded poise. Their love wasn't explosive. It was patient, mature, and for almost 10 years they were inseparable. Malcolm's career shifted during those years. When The Cosby Show ended in '92, he was lost, searching for his voice again. By 1996, he launched Malcolm and Eddie. Through all those ups and downs, Karen was there. On red carpets, she was the calm presence by his side. At home, she was the shoulder he leaned on. Fans adored them. There was no drama, no scandals, just quiet, steady love. She even accepted Michelle's memory lingering in his heart. When Michelle guest starred on Malcolm and Eddie in 1997, Karen didn't make a scene. No jealousy, no petty digs, just respect. That's the kind of love they had, mature, secure. But time has a cruel way of dulling even the brightest flames. By the early 2000s, something had shifted. They stopped appearing together. No big breakup announcement, no tabloid headlines, just silence. One day they were a golden couple. The next, they weren't. Why? No one knew for sure. Some whispered it was conflicting schedules. Others said they simply outgrew each other. Karen later said in a rare interview, "We had a very beautiful long love, and I will always cherish it." But Malcolm? He stayed silent. Yet those close to him knew. The end of that relationship broke him. One friend revealed he once admitted, "I don't regret it, but I'll never forgive myself for letting her go." That's the thing about losing someone, not to betrayal, not to tragedy, but to silence. It gnaws at you. Because you keep asking, what if? Karen went on with her life gracefully. She never badmouthed him, never stirred up headlines. And Malcolm, true to form, carried the wound quietly. For him, Karen was proof that even the longest, most beautiful loves can crumble. And that regret? It never left him. Now, if Michelle was the tender first love, and Karen was the long, steady flame, then Regina King was the one that made the whole world believe Malcolm had finally found the one. This was no secret fling, no quiet relationship hidden from the press. Oh no, this was the red carpet romance that had Hollywood buzzing. They met in the early 2000s. By then, Regina was already a force. From 227 to Boys and the Hood, her career was on fire. She was respected, admired, powerful. Malcolm, now in his 30s, wasn't the starry-eyed kid anymore. He was seasoned, careful, and with Regina, sparks flew instantly. Unlike his usual private nature, Malcolm wasn't afraid to show her off. They walked hand in hand at award shows, glowing, radiant, the picture of Black Hollywood royalty. In 2011, when they appeared together at the BET Awards, Regina in a striking red dress, Malcolm sharp in a suit, the media couldn't stop gushing. They were the it couple. For 2 years, they seemed perfect. Regina had gone through a divorce, raising her son Ian alone. Malcolm adored her strength, her resilience, her fire. She, in turn, found comfort in his calm, his steady presence. For once, it looked like he had finally found a lasting home. But in 2013, the fairy tale cracked. Just 2 years in, they split. No dramatic press conference, no explosive scandal, just whispers. Regina wiped their photos off her socials. Malcolm said nothing. But oh, the rumors. Insiders claimed Regina was ready to settle, remarry, give her son a stable family life. Malcolm? He froze. The man who had already lost so much was suddenly paralyzed by the idea of commitment. A friend of Regina's revealed she felt betrayed, that when she needed certainty, Malcolm pulled away. Regina herself later dropped a heartbreaking line in an interview. "Sometimes you love someone, but they're not ready for your love." Everyone knew who she was talking about. Malcolm didn't fight back, didn't argue, didn't explain. He just sank back into his old weapon, silence. But this time, that silence wasn't strength. To Regina, it was avoidance. To the public, it looked like guilt. And to Malcolm himself, it was just another scar he didn't know how to heal. Years later, in 2022, tragedy struck Regina again when her only son Ian passed away. Fans wondered, did Malcolm reach out? No one knows. But those who knew him believed he never stopped carrying her in his heart. In his private list of 5 wounds he'd never forgive, Regina's name wasn't there because of betrayal. It was there because of expectations. Hers, his, and the world's. A love that could have been forever, but wasn't. A silence that screamed louder than any fight. And the worst part? Deep down, Malcolm always wondered, if I'd been ready, would she still be mine? By the time Malcolm reached his 40s, he wasn't the wide-eyed Theo Huxtable anymore. He wasn't even the young, hungry actor searching for a breakthrough. He was older, wiser, and tired. Tired of losing. Tired of opening his heart only for it to shatter. So when Karen Bryant entered his life, he thought, maybe this is it. Maybe I've finally found peace. Karen Bryant wasn't another actress or singer. She was the powerhouse CEO type, making waves in the Women's National Basketball Association. She was sharp, confident, accomplished, everything Malcolm admired. They didn't meet on a movie set or at some Hollywood afterparty. No, they connected through professional circles, and their chemistry quietly grew into something real. But here's the twist. Theirs was a romance that never fully stepped into the light. They were spotted dining together, attending a few events side by side, but always dodging questions. No Instagram posts, no red carpet kisses, just whispers, hints, speculation. And that secrecy, it became both their shield and their poison. Karen, being the strong woman she was, wanted clarity. Not a circus, not paparazzi, just an honest declaration. Are we in this together or not? Malcolm, still scarred from the public unraveling with Regina King, recoiled. He thought keeping it private would protect them. Instead, it slowly suffocated them. Friends close to Karen said she begged him for just one thing. Not a wedding, not a spotlight, just a promise, some kind of commitment. But Malcolm hesitated. Not because he didn't love her, but because he feared repeating history. He feared giving more than he could carry. And so, it ended the way it began, in silence. Around 2013, the media started buzzing about Malcolm dating someone new. Karen's name quietly faded from the conversation as if she had never been there. No breakup statements, no farewell posts, just absence. Later, Malcolm gave one of his trademark cryptic lines in an interview. "I once lost someone wonderful, not because we didn't love each other, but because we didn't talk enough." Fans pieced it together. That was about Karen Bryant. For Malcolm, this wasn't about betrayal. There was no scandal, no infidelity, no dramatic betrayal to point fingers at. The wound here was silence itself. The relationship never had a chance to breathe in the open, to truly exist. And so, when it died, it left nothing but emptiness. Karen went on to flourish in her WNBA career, proving herself as a force in sports leadership. She never spoke a word about him, never disrespected him. And Malcolm? He carried the weight quietly, as always. In his list of 5 women he would never forgive, Karen Bryant's name wasn't there because of what she did. It was there because of what he didn't do. He could never forgive himself for letting love die in silence. If Karen Bryant was the love lost in silence, then Reen Hatcher was the love that almost became forever, but didn't. And that, for Malcolm, cut the deepest of all. Reen wasn't in Hollywood. She wasn't a singer, wasn't an actress, wasn't chasing fame. She was a respected African-American physician, a woman with intelligence, elegance, and a quiet strength. For Malcolm, who had spent decades under the glare of cameras, Reen felt like a safe harbor. She was different. She was real. They met in the early 2000s at a community event. Friends introduced them, and instantly there was a spark. For once, Malcolm didn't need to perform. With her, he could just breathe. This relationship was quieter than his past ones, but friends noticed something. Malcolm seemed more at peace, more grounded. He was flying across the country to see her, attending medical conferences at her side. The Hollywood star and the doctor, an unexpected pairing, but one that worked beautifully. By 2012, whispers of an engagement started spreading. Friends swore they saw them ring shopping. Malcolm himself teased in an interview. It might be time to think more seriously about family. Fans lit up. Could this finally be it? After years of heartbreak, had Malcolm finally found his forever? But then, just as suddenly as it began, it was over. By late 2013, the relationship had vanished. No explanation, no announcement, just gone. Some sources said Malcolm's career pulled him away, that he buried himself in work instead of showing up. Others said Reen wanted a clear commitment, and Malcolm froze. Again. Whatever the truth, the end was cold, swift, silent. A friend of Reen's later revealed her heartbreak. He made so many promises, then left like nothing ever happened. For Malcolm, this was a different kind of pain. With Michelle, fate stole her away. With Karen Molina White, time dissolved the bond. With Regina, expectation crushed it. With Karen Bryant, silence suffocated it. But with Reen, this was the one that should have worked. She wasn't in the industry. She wasn't chasing fame. She loved him for him. And yet, he couldn't hold on. In 2015, when asked about love, he gave another of his infamous cryptic answers. Sometimes we have everything we need, but not enough courage to hold on to it. Everyone knew. He was talking about Reen. This love had been the closest he ever came to marriage. And when it slipped away, the wound cut deeper than all the rest. Not because of betrayal, not because of distance, but because of fear. His own fear. And that's the kind of pain you never forgive yourself for.